Emotions play a significant role in decisions. Take the war on drugs, for example. The war on drugs was created from fear of crime, where former President Ronald Reagan enforced prison sentences for nonviolent drug offenses when Congress passed the Anti-Drug Abuse Act. Let's face it, fear of crime and punitive attitudes have a significant influence on criminal justice policies. Here are the 3 literature reviews I conducted. The first one, How Fear of Crime Affects Punitive Attitudes by Andreas Armborst, is a study that measures fear of crime and punitive attitudes. They use 4 variables: gender, education, age, and assumed purposes of punishment. The dependent variable was punitivity. A survey was mailed out to 4,592 respondents with a response rate of 30%. The study found that men's fear of crime works in a different way in the formation of punitive attitude in comparison to women's fear of crime. For example, it was found that men are more fearful of crime against the general public than women. Fear of crime plays a significant role in punitive attitudes for those who have a high school degree in comparison to those who have a college degree. The next article that I reviewed was Does Crime Cause Punitiveness? By Gary Kleck and Dylan Baker Jackson. The study consisted of random digit dialing to a sample of 1,500 adults. The independent variable is measures of exposure to crime. The study consisted of various control variables. Among those were age, sex, race, income, education, number of times a person watches television, etc. The findings were that Caucasians and members of racial minorities feel more threatened if they believe that a large share of population in their area is African American. They are more punitive also if they live in politically conservative areas, and the number of hours of a local television watch increase the likelihood of punitiveness. There wasn't a positive association for fear of crime, prior victimization, income, sex, or education. The third article is Punitiveness, Fear of Crime, and Perceptions of Violence by Richard A. Warner and T.C. Caputo. This study utilizes a phone survey using random digit dialing of approximately 500 respondents. The independent variable was fear of crime, and it was measured by a series of questions. The dependent variable was punitiveness, also measured by a series of questions. The control variables were victimization, knowledge of violent crime, and family victimization of crime. Age and sex were the highest associated with fear of crime. Women are more likely to express fear of crime than men. According to the findings, knowledge of crime and family victimization have a significant effect on fear of crime and punitiveness, while victimization of oneself does not have a significant effect. Upon conducting this literature review, I hypothesized that fear of crime increases punitive attitudes. My independent variable is fear of crime, while my dependent variable is punitiveness. The three control variables that I chose were age, gender, and victimization. My options in performing the statistical analysis were between cross-tabulations and logistic regression. I decided to go with logistic regression because I am able to analyze all variables at once instead of creating multiple analyses and interpretations as I would have with the cross tabulations. I performed a logistic regression analysis to determine how the control variables work to explain punitive attitudes. I will be using the following variables from the fear of crime dataset to determine the relationship between fear of crime and punitive attitudes. For my independent variable, I used fear of crime, a 3-categorical variable, and for my dependent variable, I used the Thurstone scale for punishment orientation toward criminals. And for my control variables, I use age from last birth date. And for victimization, I use was the respondent a victim of crime within the past year. And for gender, I just used gender. I recoded the Thurstone scale for punishment orientation toward criminals so that it can be a dichotomous variable, changing it from low, medium, high to high and not high. Here are the results that I obtained. According to the results, all of our variables explain 1.5% of the variance in punishment. The only variable that is significant with an alpha level of 0.05 is moderate fear of crime, with an odds ratio effect of 0.363, which was obtained by subtracting 1.0 from 0.637, and what we got was a lower odds of punishment. All other variables are not significant. Therefore, we would reject the research hypothesis of fear of crime increases the level of punitiveness, and we would accept the null hypothesis that fear of crime decreases the level of punitiveness. For further research, one could conduct in measuring the relationship between fear of crime and punitiveness with other variables than the ones mentioned could be measuring political orientation and possibly criminal record, as those may have a different effect on the research hypothesis. Thank you very much.